Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, the Democrats willing to destroy the economy over ICE. We'll analyze, but before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Earlier today, protesters began assembling outside the Minnesota Capitol, inside the Minnesota Capitol, and demanding Tim Walz do something. Okay, can we be real? What do you want him to do exactly? Tim Walz has done everything a good little leftist activist would want him to do. Challenged President Trump, resisted, but we found his line. He kept saying, I'm going to call up the National Guard, and they're going to go to war with ICE. But Tim Walz is no fool. I mean, well, yeah, he is. But what, you're really going to go to war with ICE? You're really going to go to war with the federal government? That's really what you want? I think what the activists are mad about is that Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, who's the mayor of Minneapolis, spoke to President Trump yesterday. How dare you? How dare you even speak to him? They're chanting ICE out now and do your job. So I think there's a few things at play here. Number one, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how our country works. You have federal law, you have state law, you have county law, you have city law. All of them apply in different ways. And in a lot of cases, they actually overlap and are the same. You can't kill anybody. You can't assault anybody. These are common sense things. When it comes to national security, when it comes to border control, when it comes to immigration, the federal government is in charge, not local jurisdictions. We really need to challenge all these sanctuary laws because they're not constitutional. Congress has laws. You want to be part of the United States, you have to do it. None of these Democrats seem to actually want to deal with the immigration issues. Instead, they just want it as a campaign issue. So you've got all these protesters. I don't think they understand how it works. I really don't. Some of them are useful idiots. Some of them are along for the ride of, we'll protest whatever it is. We just like to protest. Is Nelson Mandela freed yet? Let's go free him. Save the whales. Gays in the military now. Whatever it is. Let's just go do that. What is today's thing? There are others who will never be happy. Remember, I told you a story yesterday about how after the election, the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, protesters were downtown after the summer of love. And they were rioting and breaking windows at the Starbucks in the Pike Place Market and graffitiing on the ground, rinse and repeat. They don't want the United States to exist. They want anarchy. They want chaos. And as we analyzed yesterday, that's exactly what this is. Organized chaos. This is an insurgency that we are seeing in Minneapolis. And if the feds pull out, they are now giving credence to the insurgency. They're saying, yeah, we left because of them. Now, there are multiple agencies that are operating in Minnesota. One of them is ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. The other one is the Border Patrol. ICE calls in the Border Patrol for help when they need more manpower. This is not their usual thing, but they need more help, and we had to surge people to Minneapolis. We had to surge people to Minnesota because of all the rampant fraud that's there, and because this state has made it its mission to circumvent ICE wherever they possibly can. Do you see this happening in Texas? Do you see this unrest happening in Mississippi? Do you see it happening in Alabama? The red states are complying because a lot of the red states got flooded with illegal aliens. They are complying. You only see this organized chaos in blue states. And there's a lot more deportation going on in the red states than the blue states, but the activists know their shtick won't fly there. They know that red states actually enforce the law, while blue states, they're basically saying, yeah, let's go along with this insanity. Now, this guy who got killed, Alex Pretty, the video, no matter how you slice it, ain't great. Do I think he went for a gun? Absolutely, I think he did. Was he resisting ICE Absolutely, I think he was. Did he deserve to get shot 10 times? No. And there's a few explanations for it, but you know what we need? A full investigation. President Trump said we are going to have a full investigation. He said that today. He said we're actually going to do that, which is appropriate. That's what you want to do. But if we're going to have a full investigation, that means we need to investigate Alex Pretty as well. He was in signal chats, which our friend Cam Higbee has infiltrated, showing they are organizing against the U.S. government. They have rapid response to where ICE is, where they will send activists to that location to circumvent ICE, to fight back against ICE. This guy, Alex Pretty, had his ribs broken once before by challenging ICE. This is a guy who they paint him as, oh, he's just a veteran's ICU nurse with a concealed carry permit for his own safety. That's not what he was at all. He was a trained, hardcore activist who went looking for a fight. Somebody posted a picture. I don't know if it's real or not, but it looks like it came from his Facebook profile. Do you remember those rings people used to put around their Facebook profiles during COVID that said, stay home, stay healthy? Somebody put up a picture of him with that. Now, I don't know if that's a bad joke or it's actually his page, but yeah, if he had stayed home, he would have stayed healthy. He chose to go fight against federal law enforcement. Did he deserve to die? Probably not. But you don't resist arrest. You don't carry a gun and then go fight with ICE because those agents want to go home as well. And for those of you who say there were so many ICE agents to just him, a gun changes the odds in that regard. These protesters want more people dead like Alex Pretty, like Renee Good. They want more people dead like that. That's exactly what they want. That's what they want. Now, Kash Patel says he's going to start looking into these signal chats where the activists are coordinating because that's what we see. This is a full-blown insurgency against the U.S. government. The more chaos they can sow, they think they can take down Trump. The No Kings protest didn't work. The regular, average American says, my gas prices are coming down. They say the economy's improving. They say some things are getting less expensive. My wages are going up. There's more opportunity. So these guys said, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this instead. Let's go back to the 2020 model. Here's FBI Director Kash Patel.
The ongoing investigation involving the shooting last week is being led by DHS, and of course, we're supporting our interagency partners there. The Signal Chat group is information we collect from the public because we repeatedly request the public provide us with information they have. And what we are going to do is what we have been doing across the country under President Trump's leadership to deliver this historic success from year to year. It's not a trust me situation. It's a look at the last year. It's a look at what we did when the FBI opened up their task force in the state of Virginia under President Trump and our great partners at DOJ and the Attorney General. We wiped out crime in the state, and we're going to do that in every single city. We've done it for the whole year. And on this type of specific investigation, what you do, generally speaking, is you send out subpoenas, you collect data, you put people in grand juries, and you find out who broke the law. And if anyone broke the law and incited violence, remember, that's the key here. We are not going after people and infringing on their freedom of speech to peacefully protest. We are definitely not going after people on their Second Amendment right to bear arms. Only if you incite violence and or threaten to do harm to law enforcement officials and break the law in any other way does it become an investigatory matter. So this Signal Chat is something that we, the FBI, are looking at and spearheading.
He's exactly right. So you had Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, and you had Tim Walz talking to President Trump yesterday. How'd those conversations go? The president was in Iowa today weighing in on it.
But I had two very good talks. I had Jacob Frey and I had Governor Walz, and I mean, they were great calls. So let's see how they report it. But they were very nice calls, very respectful.
So is there a possibility, President Trump, of some type of compromise? I read that some of the Guard will be leaving the state of Minnesota, some type of compromise to, I guess, make those guys feel like they're in charge, even though, God help us.
Yeah, well, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think so. What we need is their criminals. You know, they have criminals, and all I said, just give us your criminals. And if you give us the criminals, it all goes away. They're there to pick up murders. I don't know if you saw, but it was a couple of days ago announced that crime is the lowest in the history of our country, the recorded history of our country.
Wow.
That's a big statement. That's because of us. That's because we go into cities and towns. Usually we're embraced. Sometimes we're not. Chicago is like pulling teeth with Pritzker and with the mayor of Chicago, low IQ person. And usually we're embraced, but sometimes we're not. And when we're not, it just makes it harder.
That was President Trump on Sid Rosenberg's show in New York while he was out pushing the economy in Iowa. And what he said there is very, very important. What he said was, give us the criminals and all this goes away. It's the sanctuary state laws and policies that are stopping law enforcement, local law enforcement in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, from turning over illegal alien murderers, rapists, child molesters to ICE. The left doesn't want them turned over. You should be asking why Jacob Fry and why Tim Walz don't want them turned over. This is about how they want to circumvent federal law and they want prisons abolished. They want to defund the police. They don't want law enforcement. They want open borders. If you actually enforce the law, none of this happens. None of this happens at all. So who have they chosen as a martyr? This guy, Alex Priddy, who literally broke a rib while assaulting ICE the previous week. He was known to ICE. So because they know who this guy is, they know he's dangerous, they know he's a threat. This is a guy who online was talking about massacring ICE. So when it looks like he went for his gun, how do you know he wasn't trying suicide by cop? Because it looks like he has no problem with himself getting harmed in the past. So why would you assume this is a peaceful protester? He's not. These are not peaceful protests we're seeing. Last night, they targeted another hotel where they thought ICE was staying, where they thought that the heads of the Border Patrol were staying. So they start rioting and breaking windows and trying to set up an autonomous zone. What is it with always trying to set up an autonomous zone? These guys love their autonomous zone. Alex Priddy gets killed. What's the first thing they do? Start dragging over dumpsters and whatever garbage cans they can find to create an autonomous zone. So the people who are anti-border walls immediately start setting up a border wall every single time of their own little area. Hey, how's George Floyd Square doing? George Floyd Square. Right, the last remaining autonomous zone. All the businesses are gone. The place looks like a third world country. Well done. You guys did it. But that's what they want everything to look like. That's what they want. Do we want a full investigation? Absolutely. But this was a guy who was itching for a fight. And if you actually enforce the law and turn over the criminals, you won't have these problems anymore. I've never heard a Democrat yet give me a reason why. And the phone lines are open, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. About why they don't want to turn over felons. You want to make an argument for misdemeanors? Fine. I don't like that argument, but fine. What is the argument for not turning over felons who are here illegally in this country, because then you have to admit they're here illegally in this country and they shouldn't be here? If the left really want to do something about this, you know what they could do? They could go change the law. Well, Bob Ferguson, he's been out of the spotlight for a few minutes, right? And he wants some national attention. His polling numbers are absolute garbage. This summer, we saw how bad they are. He's very unpopular. Washington's in a budget crisis. He wants to blame Donald Trump. So him and Nick Brown have this press conference yesterday where Trump to Trump to Trump to Trump to Trump, 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 Trump. That was their press conference. Where basically they even admitted during the press conference they had no power whatsoever to do anything. Nothing at all. But they're going to write a strongly worded letter to the manager of ICE. Great. But they also said something else. And this is the part you should be concerned about. Give a listen.
Do you have any concern that grassroots groups that are organizing to, report ICE activity and kind of monitor it, might be ill-equipped for the task? We've seen some misinformation that had some schools in Seattle and Bellingham shelter in place that turned out to be somewhat unsubstantiated. Do you have any concern that those grassroots groups, do you have advice to people who are looking to report ICE activity?
Stop right there. That is a KUOW, an NPR reporter, saying, people really want to report ICE activity, but they're doing a really bad job, and there's been a lot of false reports, and that thing at the schools didn't really happen. Oh, who was right? I called that last week. I said all these lockdowns are based on nothing when you're quoting a picture from the Roosevelt High School yearbook account. That it was all nonsense, all made up. So now we know it was all nonsense, all misinformation, but out of virtue signaling, they put all those schools in Seattle on lockdown. Hey, let me translate this for everybody. Hey, Bob Ferguson, do you have any advice for the protesters about how they can interfere with ICE more? About how they can track ICE more? Because this guy, Alex Preddy, he got killed doing that. And we don't want to get killed. They're not grassroots organizations. They're activists. That's KUOW. What'd Turd Ferguson tell him?
Sure, I'll share a couple thoughts, and the Attorney General and I were chatting about this just before we walked out here, so I'll let him add his thoughts as well. So first I would say what I see in Minnesota, for example, under very extreme circumstances, and what's happening here is I see community and individuals, grassroots organizations doing their part to stand up for their fellow residents of Minnesota and fellow Washingtonians here.
Yeah, the Antifa activists who assaulted Cam Higbee outside the federal building while they were protesting ICE. They're doing their part, right? Just doing their part. The ones who assaulted Brandy Cruz outside the Tequila detention facility, they're just doing their part, right? The ones who attack Jonathan Cho all the time for covering their insanity, they're just doing their part, right?
So I appreciate that work. And look, to the extent there's going to be, you mentioned the schools being, there's a climate of fear going on right now. And
manufactured fear by your teachers' unions. If you don't do anything illegal, you don't have anything to fear from federal authorities.
Can't blame folks, for acting when they hear information. Truly. That's not their fault. That's the fault of the Trump administration and what ICE is doing.
No, that is their fault. They have every kid convinced, no matter what the color of their skin is, no matter if they're here legally, illegally, that they are going to be rounded up by the gazpacho. That is what they have. Everybody the gazpacho's coming for you, along with the avocado and chips. They're all coming for you.
Let's be very, very clear about that. They're creating the situation. They're creating the climate of fear. That's them. So I would say I appreciate what they are doing. And what I would also add is that if things continue to escalate, if that happens here in Washington State, we'll need to depend on those folks to partner with us on making sure that conduct of ICE agents is being recorded, which is deeply helpful, as we saw this weekend, in the face of the lies that came from federal officials. Well, the cameras are what the cameras are. The video is what the video is.
The video is not what the video is. There's 4 videos that I've seen with different angles on it, and each one will leave you with a different conclusion. But what Bob Ferguson is doing is basically giving advice to the protesters. He wants to coordinate with the protesters.
You can deny reality if you want, but that's reality. So again, what I really want to emphasize, and I'll turn this over to the Attorney General, is we have certain powers as Attorney General or governors to do our part. But everybody has a role in our state right now on defending our democracy. Everybody does. And we're going to need that to get through this.
Everybody has a role, so go out and fight with an ICE agent. You know what? I shouldn't call them protesters anymore. We're just going to call them activists because they're not protesters. They're interfering with immigration officials, trying to do their jobs, trying to get illegal alien criminals out of this country. And now you've got Bob Ferguson, just because he's desperate to be in the headlines and distract from the fact that the fraud allegations here are getting worse. Ferguson. Him, exactly. And you want to know what? It's working. You know where Cam Higbee and Jonathan Cho are right now, who are helping to investigate all the fraud? They're in Minneapolis covering that insanity. So the distraction is actually working short term. What am I talking about today? Instead of Turd Ferguson's fraud, more of this immigration stuff. Later in the show, we're going to talk about how the Washington auditor is refusing to investigate the fraud. Absolutely refusing to do it. Their distraction is working. You can't let it distract you. Now, all the texts and emails I get are about what's going on in Minneapolis. Before this, my inbox was flooded with all the fraud stuff. It's working. You're letting them win. We are letting them win. because they knew the fraud allegations were going to hit Tim Walz, and they were going to hit Jacob Fry, and they were going to hit everybody else in Minnesota, and they were going to hit Ilhan Omar more, and they were going to hit more Democrats. In fact, some Democrats are on these signal chats, organizing with the protesters, with the activists, recruiting the protesters. You've got members of the Minneapolis state legislature trying to recruit people to be part of the signal chats, and it's working. And it's working. This is an insurgency. This is a distraction. And we're letting it distract all of us. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's going on?
What needs to happen is we need to RICO the Democrats' rainbow Rambos. This has to stop. And the first thing you do when you're at war with somebody is you take down their communications.
Actually, I'd say the first thing you do when you're at war with somebody is take out their finances. And if we declared a whole bunch of these groups, domestic terrorist groups, why aren't we doing to them what we do to Hamas and Hezbollah and everybody else? Why aren't we going after the finances? This has been one of my knocks on the Trump administration, is that you need to take out their finances. If they're not funded, they can't do anything. You're right. Communications is part of that. But you got to take down their finances. And it's nice that we declared all these groups domestic terrorist organizations, but it doesn't seem like we're actually treating them as such. Ron, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Katie Wilson back in the news. And I think really what she's doing is now trying to distract from everything going on in her city that she's not fixing. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVR. For the second consecutive night, we had the insurrectionists out in the street protesting in Seattle against ICE. All they did was ruin a few people's commutes. Luckily, I didn't see any evidence of vandalism as we usually do with the Seattle Activist Brigade. However, just like in Minneapolis, who are the ones encouraging this? Our local elected officials. Gurmeet Zahalai was out there, King County executive, calling for Congress not to vote to fund ICE. This is what we're in for now. We're just going to keep doing this every single night. By the way, I think it's working with some people. I think some people are looking at this and going, you know, we want secure borders, but we don't want this kind of stuff happening in the streets. The Democrats see an opportunity. If they can rile up the mob enough, they're going to go out there and do bad things like what's happening in Minneapolis. You saw what happened at a hotel, 2 different hotels, 2 nights in a row. Anybody being prosecuted for that? Anybody getting arrested for that? I see the feds arresting some people. I don't see local law enforcement doing that. When's local law enforcement going to step up? Now, I wonder if after the phone call between Tim Walz that he had with President Trump and Jacob Fry with President Trump, I wonder if you're going to start seeing more enforcement, because President Trump could do something very, very simple. He could say, let me tell you something, Tim. Here's what we're going to do. What we're going to do is I'm going to ignore the fraud for now. If you enforce the law, we'll ignore the fraud against you. We'll do it. We'll do it. But enforce the law and make sure nobody else gets hurt. If not, Tim, we know how involved you were in the fraud, or we think we know, and we'll investigate it. Look, that's the easiest play you got here. If you got another play, I'm open to suggestions. Right now, what we have to worry about is local Democrats gearing up the rioters. Do you remember in 2020 during the autonomous zone? You had Kshama Sawant lead the activists to a closed city hall because it was COVID. Let them in and take over the building. She led them to Mayor Jenny Durkin's house, where they vandalized the house. Her address wasn't listed because she was a U.S. attorney, and yet she led them to the house. Do you remember? On multiple nights, they would go to Mike Solin's house, president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild. He had to move. I'm pretty sure he had to move. They went to city council members' houses. Man, I've never been happier to lose an election than when I lost the one for Seattle City Council, or those lunatics would be coming to my house every single night. This is what they do. And you've got Democrat politicians who are egging on the mob. This is something that's only going to get worse. And then you realize you can't control the animal you've created. We saw this in 2020. They didn't know what to do about him. So today, Tim Walz gets to deal with the fact that they're all descending on Minneapolis. You know, when I was out in Olympia last week, and I think they're there today also, there's a whole bunch of activists marching against ICE. You know what they were demanding? Not just ICE out or whatever else they're calling for. They want free legal help for illegal aliens. Can somebody rationalize that one to me? Why our taxpayer dollars have to pay for legal help for illegal aliens who aren't even citizens, don't pay taxes? Is that something our tax money should be going towards? Let me know if you think it should be. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from our frenemy, Bennett the Protester. Bennett, were you out there last night?
Yeah, and I had to get home early to do some homework because you gave me some research to do. I wanted to follow up on the George Soros thing that you said yesterday.
How'd you enjoy the interview?
Well, let's recap. You said that George Soros said that rounding up Jews was one of the most thrilling experiences of his childhood, and that to me sounded rather sus, as the kids say. So I assume you're referring to, this sounds like it's conflating two different things. So first things first, for everyone listening, no, this is not true. He did not say anything that I don't think any reasonable person
Which interview did you watch?
mean.
Bennett, which interview did you watch?
I assume you're talking about the 2001 interview on Charlie Rose, right? So people listening, you can look it up. Charlie Rose interview. You have to say 2001 because he was interviewed there more than once. But we're talking about the 2001 Charlie Rose interview, right?
Which one are you referencing? Because he was interviewed there more than once. Why don't you give me the exact quote there, Bennett?
Well, what I think that your statement is conflating two different things. One is that in the 2001 Charlie Rose interview, he did say something along the lines of, that the year of the German occupation was one of the happiest years of his life, which does, right away that sounded, wait a minute, huh? But he goes on to clarify that he meant that because he felt in the David role in a David and Goliath situation.
That's not the one I'm talking about. Give me the other one you watched. I want to know if we're even talking about the right one. Keep going.
Okay, so I am talking. That is the statement that people appear to have based this on, where he said something cringy about how the German occupation was a happy year, but he said it was because he was in the underdog situation, fighting for survival, and he was like
wasn't.
A thrilling
Do you
thing
know
to
his
him.
story? Do you know where he was? Do you know where he was? He wasn't in the underdog situation. Do you know where George Soros was during the 1930s and 40s?
Okay, and that's where I think you're conflating something.
No. Hang on.
Where he was.
I don't think you found the right interview, Bennett. Give me the other one that you're talking about, because I don't think you're talking about the right one.
Okay, he also said that so there was a period where he was like, his real father placed him with a fake Hungarian godfather, essentially for his protection.
What was the Hungarian godfather's job?
The Hungarian godfather, he said that he accompanied him on some things that involved confiscating property from Jews.
Okay. Hang on. So, now what did that interview say?
Well, okay, I'm glad you asked, because he said that what he felt about that is that he didn't feel guilty because he was still 14 years old and his fake Hungarian godfather was dragging him along for this stuff, and he wasn't the one doing it. But he never
Bennett,
at any time said anything remotely
I will find the correct interview, and if I am wrong, I will say I am wrong. But neither one of those sound like the one I've seen, because he spoke about this a lot. And what's interesting is actually over on X, the community notes all the time are always referencing multiple other interviews he did on the subject. Tonight, please God, hopefully I'll have a time to actually go find this one for you. And if I am wrong and I paraphrased incorrectly, I will admit you were right. Bennett, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, are the Democrats willing to destroy the economy over ICE? Seems like they are, thinking it's going to help them out with the next election. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So is there going to be an investigation into Alex Pretty's death? I think there deserves to be one, and that way the ICE agents can be exonerated or not. Question is, can it be an unbiased investigation? Because everybody's going to call it biased one way or the other. I think there should be an investigation. Here's what the president said today about it.
Do you believe that Alex Pretty's death was justified?
Well, you know, we're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
Okay, so the president just said he wants an investigation into what happened. Now there should be an investigation. Also, he's sending Tom Homan to Minnesota. Why Tom Homan? Tom Homan, even though the Democrats demonized him all the time, let's not forget there's pictures of him getting medals from Barack Obama. So that's who he's dispatching out to Minneapolis to see what's going on and pulling the Border Patrol head who's in command.
Mr. Homan is the point person for cooperating with state and local authorities and corresponding with them, again, to achieve this level of cooperation to subdue the chaos on the streets of Minneapolis. And I would just point out that Mr. Homan is someone who has been lauded for many, many decades for his experience working in law enforcement. In fact, this is a Washington Post headline from 9 years ago, 2016. Meet the man the White House has honored for deporting illegal immigrants. And I would remind everyone in this room that it was former President Barack Hussein Obama who awarded a medal to Mr. Homan. So he's obviously very qualified. He has the full trust and faith of the president. He will continue to have these meetings in the hopes that ICE and local law enforcement can cooperate and work together to have successful immigration enforcement, as we've seen in almost every other state across the country.
Exactly. Now, you have to remember why we're doing all this, to round up the murderers and the drug dealers and everybody else. And President Trump made sure the media didn't forget that today, because it seems like they're trying to make it seem like every single person here is just some sweet, innocent person looking for a better life.
You know, if you remember, I probably got elected more than anything else on the border. We had a border that was open with 25 million people coming through with an open border policy, which was insane. And that's the policy that caused the problems that we have. With all of that being said, other than, I would say, just to put it accurately, Minnesota, and in particular Minneapolis, because it's not all of Minnesota, every city that we've gone to has been, like, literally crime has gone down 50, 60, 70, 80. In Washington, it's gone down. There's practically no crime. You know, Washington is a great example, but you take a look at other cities, Memphis, Tennessee, the crime is down 78%.
Exactly right. The crime is going down. You have some of the lowest murder rates in modern history, not seen since the early 1900s. Do you think maybe we were importing a ton of this crime? You don't think Americans just got more homicidal by nature, do you? So now the question is, are the Democrats going to continue funding ICE? Now, something really fascinating to me is the House already voted on whether or not to continue voting ICE. So what we saw happen already, Representative Gluesenkamp-Perez, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez from our very own Washington, backed funding the Department of Homeland Security because she's in a purple district and she doesn't want to lose. And because she doesn't want to lose, she says, okay, I give a little bit to the Republicans here, I give a little bit to the Democrats here. Plus, people like her are also counting on the fact that they think the Senate is not going to vote for this kind of money. Chuck Schumer has said they won't support this thing. But I think there's enough Democrats in purple districts who are worried about the upcoming midterms. Because though Americans don't want to see how the sausage gets made, they do want less crime. They do want more safety. In fact, it's more than that. 2 Democrat House representatives from Long Island, New York, have broken with their party on the spending bill that includes the money for ICE. Why Long Island, New York? Because during COVID, when everything was locked down in Manhattan, people said, if I'm going to be trapped in my house, I don't want to be in a 3-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom loft in the middle of Manhattan. I want to be able to go places. And a lot of people moved out to the suburbs. That means Long Island. So a lot of the people who are not Democrats or who are more moderate or even lean a little right, blue dog, fiscal conservative Democrats said, we're out of Manhattan, we're out of the city, we're going out to the suburbs. And now you've actually seen Long Island, which was traditionally very, very blue, start getting purple and even more red. So now the question comes down to, is Congress actually going to go forward with shutting down the economy over the ICE funding? Here's Stephen Moore on Fox News talking about how good the economy is doing right now. If you have another shutdown, you throw off that progress.
Look at the facts of the economy. It is a booming economy. The latest report is almost 5.5% growth in the fourth quarter, which is an incredible number. We haven't seen that in recent memory. We've got gas prices down. Inflation is headed down to the 2% target. Median family income last year was up $2,500. Those are people in the exact middle, adjusted for inflation. I mean, I could go on and on with the positive elements of this.
If the Democrats do shut down the economy, then what happens is, if they shut down the government, what happens is you're not going to see as rapid growth going into the midterms. If they shut down the government, look, the funding is going to go through eventually. So all they're going to be doing is hurting the U.S. economy, which means hurting you. And then they'll be doing it just to win an election. You think they really care about what's going on with ICE? They see it as another campaign issue. If they really cared what was going on with ICE, they would bring forward immigration legislation. They don't do that. When we come back, my friends, there's a woman who refused to report a crime on her. Why? Because she wanted to show how anti-police and how prison abolitionist she could possibly be. We'll give you that insanity when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Just before we tell you one of the most insane woke stories I've ever seen before in my life, I want to remind everybody that coming up next hour is your next chance to win tickets to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire in concert here at Climate Pledge Arena on August 3rd. That's right. You can win the tickets before they go on sale to the general public. So coming up next hour, we will be giving them away. All you're going to have to do is enter the keyword we give you when we tell it to you, and not before then. We will give it to you sometime in the next hour. So you got to make sure you're listening, so that way you know to enter the keyword to win tickets to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire on August 3rd at Climate Pledge Arena. Okay, this is one of the most insane woke stories I've ever seen in my life. It comes to us from the post-millennial. If you have kids in the car, earmuff it for a second. I'm going to clean it up a bit. A leftist writer has published a piece in The Nation explaining why she did not report her alleged 2021, I'm just going to say, sexual assault at the hands of 6 men in Las Vegas, saying that she believes in the abolition of police and prisons. Anna Krauthammer, a writer and doctoral candidate in English literature at Columbia University, wrote that in June of 2021, it happened during a 3-day trip to Las Vegas with 2 of her best friends. She says she remembers too much and too little. I didn't do anything about it. I didn't tell anyone about it either, including the people she could have, like the Las Vegas police or the hotel staff. Why? The simplest answer to the question of why I never reported it is because I believe in the abolition of police and prisons. The less simple, less articulate answer is to pursue prosecuting and potentially incarcerating other people is inconceivable to me. Inconceivable. Even when they have hurt me more than I could have ever believed possible. Because of this, I can only vocalize what I want in negative and inherently impossible terms. That all I want is for it never to have happened. The prospect of being the participant in other people's incarceration is as alien to me as anything could be, to the point that I can only conceive of it in childish terms how silly and strange it would be to have a group of people incarcerated at my expense, when doing so would do nothing to fix the damage they have already so thoroughly done. Number one, do you want that happening to anybody else, assuming it happened? Do you want that happening? We don't know if it happened. This could all be made up. There is no police report. There's no hotel report. We just have your word to go on, and for all we know, we're making it up. Wasn't there a woman who went on The View last week and said she observed a lynching, and there is no record of this thing having happened in the entire time she was alive? But yet she claims she saw a lynching? People can claim whatever they want to get their virtue signaling credit. She said she has long believed in and used the term prison abolition, but has felt in my bones that I can never participate in any chain of events that might send someone to prison for longer. Look, I get that's hard to confront somebody in a courtroom, but they have ways of dealing with that. But you could literally stop what allegedly happened to you from happening to other people. And instead, you don't believe in prisons. Instead, you don't believe in police. You know what always cracks me up around here in Seattle? I remember this was with Full Tilt Ice Cream, run by far-left activists before they closed because they're a bunch of socialist far-left activists. But I remember one of their locations got broken into and they were anti-police. They even had ice cream flavors about being anti-police. That when their store got broken into, guess who they called? Come on! Guess who they called? That's right, it was yours truly who got all the police records and 911 calls proving it was them. So they're all very anti-police until they want the police to show up. She said that what happened in Las Vegas feels akin to jumping off a building. Both actions fight against every instinct in her body, and instincts are not necessarily rational or conscious. Well, yeah, but that's also why you don't let people who are the victims prosecute the crimes. That's why you let the court prosecute the crime. That's why you let the police go after and arrest the offenders. She said the friends have told her to report it and pursue legal action against them to protect other women someday. She says when so little is available to sexual violence victims in the way of justice or fairness, the current shape of criminal justice can begin to look appealing. If only because it's the most straightforward type of response that currently exists. In fact, it's because on some level, I suspect that this logic creeps, however, consciously or unintentionally, into the minds of those who encourage me to prosecute the offenders. But I cannot fully welcome that advice. So she doesn't actually answer the question of, hey, if you were serious about this, you could protect other people. No, she's not interested in that. Instead, what she would rather do is virtue signal, and claim this happened and there's no proof it happened. It could be completely made up. It could have happened exactly the way she says. But you know why we won't know? Because it's not reported to the police. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, the Washington auditor is refusing to investigate fraud of any kind. Refusing. However, they will investigate digital equity. I kid you not. Won't investigate fraud, will investigate digital equity. Plus, also, don't forget your chance to win tickets to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire at Climate Pledge Arena coming up in the next hour. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, your chance to win tickets to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire in concert at Climate Pledge Arena on August 3rd. But before we get to any of that, according to Kairos 7, Seattle is the most expensive city to have a Super Bowl party in. That's right, the most expensive one. In a recent analysis, the Action Network found Seattle hosts spend an average of $39.15 per guest, $39.15 per guest. The study analyzed Super Bowl hosting costs on a per-guest basis across major U.S. cities in 2026, factoring food, drinks, groceries, and shared utilities. For a 10-person Super Bowl party, the average cost is $392, roughly $13 more per person, at about $130 more overall than Green Bay, the cheapest city in the ranking. The study said Seattle ranks as the most expensive city for hosting a Super Bowl party. Food costs average $9.91 per guest, the highest in the study, while other grocery expenses exceeded $20, pushing overall hosting costs well above the national city average. Food costs are the biggest driver in Seattle, averaging $9.91 per guest, the highest food cost of any city in the study. Trailing Seattle are 6 California cities: Sacramento, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Jose, Long Beach, and San Diego. Number 8 was New York, followed by Miami and Washington, D.C. Why do you suppose that Seattle and California are some of the highest cities when it comes to expenses for the Super Bowl?
Because we're buying healthy stuff from Whole Foods and PCC. It's going to be gluten-free this and that.
You beat me to the joke. I was going to say because veggie burgers ain't cheap.
we need to work this out, I guess, before.
It's funny you said that, though. But that's literally what I was going to say, because veggie burgers, soy ain't cheap. It just isn't. Yeah. Right. No, you know why? Because everything gets here via gasoline. And the people who are working in the fields use farm equipment. That requires gasoline. Because the minimum wage costs are so high, your grocery stores are going to be more expensive. Because your tolls are higher. Because everything is higher here. Because of the Climate Commitment Act. Because of your car tabs of people driving to you. All this is going to be more expensive. One of the people you can thank for this, you may not even know who she is. State Supreme Court Justice Raquel Montoya Lewis. Now, Raquel Montoya Lewis was one of those who said, yeah, you know what, that whole, we know you guys wanted the $30 car tabs, but forget that. Now we're just going to chuck the will of the people. She's one of the most liberal justices on a liberal Washington State Supreme Court. Well, there is some good news, my friends. She announced that she won't be seeking re-election. She announced that today. Now, something funny, if I've done my mathing right and I've done my calendar right, that means that Bob Ferguson doesn't get to appoint a successor who then runs as an incumbent in the election. I think she's outside that window, which means there's an open seat on the Washington State Supreme Court. Now, we don't spend enough time talking about judges. Everybody's obsessed with who's going to be president, who's going to be vice president, who's going to be mayor. But we don't spend enough time talking about judges. So I want to know from you who you think should run for the seat. And before all of you say, Dave Larson, don't get me wrong. I like Dave Larson. In fact, we were sitting together on Saturday night at the Roanoke Conference. But he already lost once. What makes you think he's going to win this time? What makes you think he's going to win? So who would you want to see in that seat? Here's something else. Can you even name any justices without Googling them? Can you even name any judges without Googling them? Sure, you can name a few of the U.S. Supreme Court judges. You might even be able to name all of them. Can you name the ones on the Washington State Supreme Court? And this is a real problem because, as I say all the time, the things that happen here locally affect you a lot more than what happens in Washington, D.C. And I will admit, I can't name all the members of the Washington State Supreme Court without me pulling up a list of them, and I'll go, all right, there's so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so. We don't spend enough time discussing it. especially when it comes to our initiative process. Regarding the initiative process, don't forget, is that our system is so backwards here that what happens is they come up with a title for it. They put out the signature sheets. You collect all the signatures. You collect 500,000 signatures, whatever it is for Let's Go Washington or any other organization. You turn the thing in. Let's say it gets voted on. The legislature says yes or no. It moves forward. Let's say it goes to the ballot. Then everybody votes on the thing. And let's say it wins. It could still end up at the Supreme Court, which is really backwards. If you're going to have them involved in the system, they should have to judge it before all that money is spent. Right now, last week, they were hearing arguments on the green energy ban, or excuse me, not ban on green energy, but it's the ban on gas, ban on natural gas. They were hearing arguments on that last week. We already voted on this. We already won on this one. We got all the signatures. We voted on this, and now it goes to the Supreme Court, so it could all be for nothing? And what do they care about polling? They don't care about polling at all. So this is because they think they're going to win a statewide race in a very, very blue city, a blue state. They think they're always going to get the support of the state. So think about that for a second. So 2 questions for everybody. Who would you want to see in that seat? Do you have suggestions? Send them on over to us. Send them on over to us. And can you actually name the other ones without looking it up? 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I don't say this to insult anybody. I say this so that we understand what we're up against. The first thing is educating everybody about what we're doing here. You got to do that first. People just don't understand how much this can affect them. By the way, Justice Raquel Montoya Lewis, this is one of the ones who is pushing the idea that law students shouldn't have to take the bar because it's racist. Yes, it's so racist and blocks marginalized groups from practicing law. Talk about the soft bigotry of low expectations. Yes, minorities, according to this justice, are too dumb to take the bar, and therefore minorities cannot be lawyers. So what do we have to do? We have to make sure they don't take the bar. Soon it'll be they don't have to go to law school either. This is how you get the idiocracy courtroom scene and the House of Representin'. That's how you get this, by saying there are no standards whatsoever. It's crazy. And speaking of new standards, it doesn't seem like it even matters if we have a court, because apparently we don't have anybody willing to investigate allegations, including allegations of fraud. Our friend Carlene Johnson from the Center Square was interviewing the Washington State Auditor about the allegations of fraud. And kudos to Carlene Johnson, who's been all over this story, even when she's sitting in a room with people like Lori Jenkins demonizing her, falsely accusing her of attacking daycare workers. Yes, Jenkins actually said that. So Carlene was interviewing the Washington State Auditor, and she says, we're not going to investigate any of those fraud allegations. Why would we do that?
Many of them are receiving, hundreds of thousands of dollars over a few months' time in subsidies. So that's
have you reported that to DCYF or reported it?
Here's the thing. It's not my job. It's right there, publicly accessible information. So I would say if you're auditing these large payouts, it would make sense. It's easy to see. You go to childcareware, find the address or the name of the provider. Then you go to fiscal.wa.gov, type in the name of the provider, and boom, it comes up and shows, wow, he got $250,000 in 5 months last year, and it shows he cares for 6 kids at his home. I mean, it's so
okay. First of all, I would say, as a mother of 4 and with 11 grandkids, and all of them have been in daycare at some point because all of them are working families, I would not want a citizen going to my child's daycare.
Okay, that's not the point. That's not the point. That is irrelevant. I have every right to go there as a reporter.
If you have a concern, there are people that you can give that information to. Give it, send it to us. You have a credible incident, send it to us on our Hotmail line.
Okay. Can we break this down for a second? The Washington State Auditor just did an audit before these allegations came out. They found there were $2 million in overpayments, likely ripe with fraud. They also found that $500 million of this agency, DCYF, Department of Children, Youth, and Families, was not controlled in any way, shape, or form, which means it was ripe for fraud. Now she's saying to Carlene Johnson, it's your job to report it? Hang on a second here. The auditor is supposed to check for this stuff, and they're supposed to audit agencies. You already had Nick Brown say he's not going to do anything about it. You already had Katie Wilson say she's not going to do anything about it. You already had Lori Jenkins say she's not going to do anything about it. You already had Jamie Peterson say he's not going to do anything about it. So all of them were saying that, and then these reports come out, and they were saying there's nothing to it, there's nothing to it, there's nothing to it. If you go to a daycare, something's wrong with you, even though Bob Ferguson hired Jesse Jones to be his... I don't know what Jesse Jones does, but I know Jesse Jones used to be the problem solver or whatever it was that he did. And what was his big shtick? Showing up unannounced at places. You literally hire the guy who's the Washington poster child for showing up unannounced at places. That's what Jesse Jones did, right? Right?
Yeah, he was known for that and going, Jesse Jones.
Jesse Jones.
But apparently there's not a whole lot of maybe money in that sort of line of work because I don't see too much of that going on anymore.
You really don't. All these news stations killed those shows. They don't do investigative reporting anymore. They killed their newsrooms. I mean, the places we used to work, you didn't see as many people working around there as you used to.
Como Problem Solvers.
There you go.
The
Como's
Problem
version. Solvers.
Yeah.
With Jesse Jones, the Problem Solvers.
No. Problem Solvers was Como's version.
Oh,
Jesse Jones was Cairo. So they all had their own version.
Their own shtick. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. I remember this, right? So they all had their own version of this, but now they just print press releases a lot of the time. It's so rare. We get excited because we have people like Jeremy Harris who does good stuff. We get excited when Chris Daniels isn't talking about are the Sonics coming back. We get excited because nowadays there's so many people just printing the press releases. So now Carly Johnson has done the job that the mainstream media should be doing, that the mainstream media used to do. And the auditor is saying, nope, there's nothing to see here. What, you didn't file a complaint? Wait a second. Wasn't the big claim of people like Lori Jenkins and crew was that, oh, well, we always audit these things. Oh, well, they always do surprise inspection. There's always audits. You have the Washington State auditor saying they're not auditing anything, and now you're trusting the agency to do their own audits after the Washington State auditor already found they were ripe for fraud, and they hadn't even given them, DCYF hadn't even given the Washington State auditor their financials of daycare providers for the last 4 years? It's clear that somebody higher up went to the Washington State auditor and said, yeah, you can't release those reports anymore. Your reports are making us look bad. You have to stop releasing those reports because guess what? Now everybody kind of knows we were ripe for fraud, and we keep getting questions about it, and we look like idiots, so we keep going viral for it. That guy Ari Hoffman and Carlene Johnson and Brandy Cruz and Jonathan Cho, they're making us look really stupid on the social media. And you don't want to happen here what happened in Minneapolis, do you? Because that's literally what we're watching happen, literally. Thank God we have a federal government that wants to root out fraud. Here's your president.
So in Minnesota, they think it's $19 billion. If they think it's $19 billion, triple it or quadruple it. And if we catch a lot of this fraud, and I felt it for a long time, but now we know what's happening. And the answer is, yeah, there will be accountability. It's one of the little problems. You know, I happen to think, and I've said it from the beginning, that a lot of what's going on with respect to Minneapolis, you know, with what's happening with all the hoopla, is so people don't talk about.
You think it's a distraction?
I've said it from day one. It's a distraction because what you don't see is that we have hundreds of accountants from Todd and from all of the different people. We have hundreds of accountants going over everything that's happening, and we're finding fraud on top of fraud on top of fraud. And I think that they don't want that to happen. You're talking about $19 billion. Probably that's a minimal number. Now, you take that and you go to California. You think California is better? I would say California is worse. It's totally out of control. They don't know what they're doing out there.
Okay. So now, if the Washington State auditor isn't investigating the daycare fraud allegations or anything else, what do you think they are investigating? And I could not believe this headline came out today, which means somebody just wrote a press release. And Como News printed it. And you know how I know somebody sent out a press release and Como News printed it? Nobody put their name on this article. It just says Como News staff. Staff. For all we know, that could be AI. State audit finds Washington lacks unified digital equity strategy to support families. So you won't investigate allegations of fraud, but you will investigate digital equity. What the hell is digital equity? I don't even know what that means. What, somebody's got better Wi-Fi than I do because of where they live? Guess what? That's life. Deal with it. The audit conducted by Pat McCarthy's office, the woman you heard before, examined the state's efforts to ensure all residents have affordable access to the internet, devices, and the skills needed to participate fully in modern civic and economic life. I'm not saying that's not important, but right now, you know what the average person can do? What's cheaper? Lumen or CenturyLink or Comcast? Which one is cheaper? Hey, wait, for my cell phone, do I want AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon? Why is it the government's fault? Why is it the government's problem to figure this out? This is what it is. So, digital equity. Does anybody not have an unlimited data plan on their phone these days? Anybody? Nobody? We're all streaming all the TV shows all the time from the toilet, right?
I would hate to be the devil's advocate here, but I'm going to advocate for the devil, as you have said on the show before.
Yes.
This is in regards to someone who's like, hey, I'm going to have a meal for the kids or, usable internet service. I'm going to choose the meal for the kids, right?
But you would think that's what it's for.
That's what I would think it would be for. And then the idea behind it is you are asked to do so many things digitally now, especially since the pandemic, that if you're asking people to migrate to something like that, you need to give them access to the type of connection that will allow for it. Case in point, doing anything virtually through government websites. Like, I had to go and I was going to be on a jury duty, and I had to do it through Zoom or whatever, right? Well, what if I don't have that connection? What if I don't have a strong enough internet to do that?
You know what, Kevin? That is a very legitimate point. That is a great point. That's perfectly fine.
Advocating.
One little problem here. They apparently have 3 plans. None of them are working, and now they're auditing that. So it's not, oh, my God, these people don't have it. No. They have 3 plans they've come up with, all that have fancy-sounding names. None of them are actually accomplishing anything. All of them are costing millions, if not billions of dollars, and they're auditing that. What do we call that again? What do we call that when things aren't working out so well and there's a lot of money going to places it shouldn't be going? Allegations of?
I don't know. Maybe
government incompetence. Sure, we'll give you that one.
Maybe there's a word for it.
It starts with an F, and it doesn't end with something that's 4 letters. It's not fire truck. Which one is? Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so which one is it? See, Kevin raises a very reasonable point. You want everybody to have the internet. You do. And they have 3 plans that aren't doing it at all. So they're auditing digital equity. You know what that's kind of like? How you had in Minneapolis? All these poor kids that needed meals, and yet the poor kids weren't getting meals because all this money was going to this organization called Feeding Our... Oh, wait a minute. Now I see what's going on here. So by saying they're investigating the digital equity, they actually proved there's more alleged fraud going on. Well done, everybody. Just absolutely well done. So before you guys come to me and you ask for more of my taxes, maybe you can make sure that just one of the 3 plans you guys created to solve digital equity is actually working. Because I'm not saying the poor people don't need the internet. I'm saying is that you guys have spent millions of dollars and still haven't been able to do it. For the amount of money you spent, you could have bought everybody an unlimited data plan. I know you buy them for the homeless, right? Buy them for all of them. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, looks like another one of the initiatives has been officially approved by the Secretary of State. But it looks like one of our local outlets did a really bad, insincere job of reporting it. We'll tell you what they said when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. The two new Let's Go Washington initiatives have both officially qualified for the legislature to take them up, have both officially qualified for it, which is huge news, with an overwhelming number of signatures. Now, there's always some signatures that get rejected because, for example, take me. I signed the page we had here at KVI for people to do the signatures, right? But I couldn't remember if I also signed it out at the Washington State Fair. Some people duplicate. Was it something that I did, just because I was trying to be nefarious? No, I made a mistake. It happens. That's a signature. It's going to happen, which is why you always have to collect more signatures for something like that. Sometimes they're illegible. You can't read them. But you're talking about over 480,000 signatures. That's huge. That is huge. So what are the two initiatives? The one to keep boys out of girls' sports and the one for parental rights. And the Washington legislature is refusing to hear any of them. Refusing. Now, something that's fascinating was Como News's coverage. And Como News's coverage appears to have been updated a little bit because of how badly they got ratioed on social media. The left claims that the Let's Go Washington initiatives, including the one about boys being banned from girls' sports, requires an invasive genital exam because those people from Let's Go Washington want to look at your undercarriage, right? That's what they want to do. Yeah, well, this has been debunked by everybody, even left-leaning outlets like the Seattle Times. Why? Because now if you want to play sports in Washington while you're in school, be it grade school, high school, or college, you have to get a physical. Kevin knows this. Anytime somebody is signed to a mega contract in sports, what's always the caveat? We're going to sign Shohei Ohtani to the biggest contract since, the guy the Mets wasted so much money on for $750 million and still didn't manage to make the playoffs.
Hey, look, personally, the reason I didn't get on the freshman year of high school is because I was too late with my physical.
There you go.
If I had one more day of tryouts, I would have been on the team.
One more day. Here, I'll tell you a story that's perfectly applicable for this. I made the basketball team with a broken arm when I was in elementary school. Made the basketball team with a broken wrist, fractured wrist. And what happened was I had actually gone to somebody's birthday party the day before. All right, this is a good story. Kevin's going to like this one. It's a 1980s arcade. What were all the rage in the early 90s? They had the big TV monitor, but you had a video game console set back from it, and there's like a box between them with all the wires running through it.
This wasn't like Guitar Hero.
No.
Dance Revolution or something like that.
Before any of that. You're playing like Street Fighter, but it's on a big TV. And okay. There wasn't a lot of light in this arcade. So young Ari Hoffman tripped over the box in between the panel and the control panel and the TV. All right. Hurt like a you-know-what, and I didn't realize anything was wrong. Also, I had never been able to make the basketball team before. I'd always been the manager, the kid who carries the equipment and does the book and runs the scoreboard. And because they were nice and they
Too late on your physical.
No. I was always had the physical.
Okay,
always had the physical.
You just weren't good.
I wasn't good. I was not good. But something amazing happened in 6th grade. You know what it was? I had a growth spurt. And I grew to the height I am now. So I towered over all them little Jewish kids. This was great. I was always the back row of every picture. This was phenomenal. Now, little did I know I stopped here. This was it for me. But for those 1 or 2 years, I'm the tall guy. So all of a sudden, they wanted me on the team. And I worked. And during the offseason, I practiced. And my defense got really good. And I still couldn't shoot. But I practiced. I made the team. And then I went home and I said, my arm is really hurting me. And my parents take me to the emergency room and I find out I fractured my wrist and I'm out for 8 weeks. So couldn't even play in that season either. Couldn't even play, right? But you know what? They would have found that in the physical, right? They would have said, dude, you got a fractured wrist here. You can't play no basketball. can't do that even in defense. You can't wave around a cast. That's going to be dangerous for somebody else. You can't do that.
You'd have been able to hide that, though, if you really wanted to.
If I really wanted to, but I saw, well, actually, I hadn't seen it yet. Hadn't come out yet. I know what happens in all them sports movies like Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
When you hide something, all of a sudden your life is ruined. You were supposed to get a scholarship on, be on a big team, but your life is ruined because you hit an injury.
Yeah, and there's no way with that kind of an injury that you're going to be able to play many. I'm like, it's going to reveal itself very quickly.
Oh, very quickly.
Very quickly.
What happens when you shoot a basketball? You need that wrist action a little bit. What happens if you get a little nicked on the wrist and you go down to the floor? People are going to think you're LeBron James, right? You know, faking everything. They're going to think that. You can't play like that. You need a physical before you play any sport. Now, Como News took selective quotes out of the Let's Go Washington initiative. What did they say? They said, students, this is what Como News said, require students to undergo a routine physical examination prior to participation in interscholastic sports, which includes documentation of the student's sex assigned at birth. Technically, that's true. It does say that in the Let's Go Washington initiative. But only if you delete a few words from the Let's Go Washington's text. What does the text actually say? Existing Washington state law and school district policies require students to undergo a routine physical examination. They took that out. So what did they do? They made it seem like Brian Haywood and Let's Go Washington and Ari Hoffman and Brandy Cruz and everybody want to check out these kids' undercarriages. They selectively edited it. This reporter, Natalie Fahmy, she put her name on this. I called her out on social media, and guess what? Now the thing has a community notes on it, waiting for review, because the article completely left out those opening words, trying to make it seem like the initiative makes this a thing. Where do I think Natalie got this from? I think Natalie got this from a press release from the left, because all the anti-initiative groups are saying it's going to require a physical examination, and it's been debunked by all these news outlets. So I'm pretty disappointed at our friends over at Como News, who I think do the best job in town of all our TV outlets for running this with an obvious thing that was so easy to fact check. How did I fact check it? One Google search. Let's Go Washington's website. Went to the Let's Go Washington website. Guess what's right there? Both initiatives. Click on it. Read the text. It's right there. So something that's already state law, they're trying to make it sound like Steve Gordon and Let's Go Washington and Brian Haywood and everybody is just trying to check out these kids' undercarriages. Guys, do better. Do a lot better, because my comment on this post has more likes than the post does, has more retweets, has more shares, because they didn't do journalism and they likely printed some press release. And by the way, when you get a press release, you have to fact check it, especially if you're getting it from somebody who's opposing an initiative. It would have taken you 2 seconds to read it. Just 2 seconds. Very disappointing, Como News. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including something good that's happening in Olympia. Something I am 100% in support of and looks like it has bipartisan support. We'll tell you what it is when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I asked you guys to give us suggestions about who should run for that vacant Supreme Court position here in Washington, and you guys had some good suggestions. Ted Cruz. Yeah, I don't think he's eligible to. We have a term for people who don't live here who run for office. I think we've had enough of that with Clyde Shavers. Didn't he make up where he was living at one point? I think that was one of his problems. Or was that some other Democrat? I can't keep their lies straight. Right, Clyde Shavers was a stolen valor one. Right. Okay. So some of the rest of you said Rob McKenna. I love how Rob McKenna always comes up as a suggestion for these things. There's some other great suggestions in here, and you know what I'll tell you guys? Because a lot of people don't know the names of the people you're talking about, I had to Google some of the people you're talking about. If you're friends with them, if you play tennis with them, which one of you said you do, ask them to run for office. And if not, ask them why. And if they say, really not me, ask them for a recommendation on who. This can't be one of these races where everybody throws their hat in the ring and all of us look at the candidates and go, really? Well, I guess they have an R next to their name, so I'll vote for them because they're better than the crazy Democrat psycho-socialist that the other side picked. But them, really? That's who you picked? That's what we're going to go with? Jeff and Kent said, what happened to the voter ID initiative? You know, great question. I asked that question myself. You had Scott Pressler come to town, and then I never saw any follow-up. I didn't see it. I really think that a lot of people just dropped the ball on the voter ID initiative. It wasn't run by Let's Go Washington. It was run by the Washington GOP. So if you want to know what happened to the voter ID initiative, reach out to them. Eben in Bonnie Lake says, I think Hulk Hogan would be a great Supreme Court justice here in Washington. Only our voters are dead as far as I can tell. So I don't think that our elected officials are dead. Oh, wait. We had Joe Biden. We had Joe Biden for 4 years. What am I talking about? What
the heck?
Here?
Throw in Andre the Giant and Randy Macho Man Savage,
There you
right?
Let's fill the whole Supreme Court, Kevin. I'm feeling a meme coming on. I'm feeling an AI meme coming on.
Bunch of pro wrestler zombies.
Dead pro wrestlers for the Washington State Supreme Court because they can't make it any worse, right? Oh, yeah. Right? That's what we'll do here. That'll be great. Kevin will finally like one of my memes.
I think Jake the Snake Roberts is still alive, though, so maybe we'll maybe
be a little sensitive and not put him on there, or put him on there because he has to speak for the dead ones. We'll have a seance.
No, I'm just saying he's the one that is available.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Get the ones who are available. How about The Rock
or Ravishing Rick Rude? That's I'll take
Oh, wait a second. Hang on. I know if we're discussing wrestlers, I know who we should really be getting. Right? Don't you know this one, Kevin?
And his name is John Cena.
That's who we should get to be a Washington State Supreme Court justice, right? Right? Yeah, let's do that.
I think he's doing a little too well doing his own thing there.
Then he can afford to take a break for a while, right? A little public service. He's not from here. Oh, let's get Chris Pratt, Star-Lord. If we're talking about movie people, let's just get him to do it, right?
From the sounds of the reviews and how much that new movie is projected to make, he might be looking for
He might have some time on his hands. That's what you're saying. Okay, so, well, that's assuming we actually get anybody in the courtroom. Yes, I know that the Supreme Court justices don't deal with those kind of cases, but here's one for you from Como News. A string of break-ins has left dozens of businesses in North Seattle struggling with added costs to replace stolen items and repair property damage caused by thieves. Wait. You're telling me the program that Bruce Harrell put in place to give you $5,000 to fix your $20,000 broken window, and you only get it once? You're telling me that program isn't working? I am shocked. I am blown away. I am clutching my pearls. I am gasping out loud. You're telling me that didn't work? Someone tried to pry open a door of Julia's in Wallingford in the early morning hours of January 12th, but ultimately never made it inside. Victor Morales, who owns the restaurant, said, luckily, as he tried to get in, we do have a sensor. That sensor rang. I think it scared him away. I have a couple of neighbors right next door. They got hit big. He said the same group of thieves hit several surrounding businesses over the course of just a few hours. That includes Wally Pets, where the deadbolt and the front door were pried off. Owner Paul Brown said his alarm went off as well, and the thieves left without taking any of his merchandise. You guys are lucky, by the way. Quote, I'm always grateful nobody got hurt and nothing was destroyed. I'm fortunate that the business is good and I can afford this. But think about the little guy who just opened his business, like the coffee shop or the cookie place. Something like this could put them out of business. A Reddit post listed nearly a dozen businesses that were burglarized in recent weeks, stretching from Wallingford to the University District and into Ravenna. You know what this reminds me of, Kevin? These headlines sound so familiar to me. Go back in time to the Jenny Durkin era. Go back in time to before her, even before the Summer of Love. These were the headlines all the time. It was all the time. It was these kind of headlines. We got broken into. Well, we got broken into, but they didn't get our stuff. We got broken into. They got all our stuff. These were the headlines nonstop. So, nice. Katie Wilson is literally taking us back in time without a DeLorean. We are back to the year of our Lord, 2017, 2018, something like that. That's what it sounds like to me. Seattle Police Department stated it's unclear how many of these crimes may be connected, but noted that property crimes, including commercial burglaries, have been trending downward in the North Precinct. No, it's because people aren't reporting them anymore. They just call the insurance company, and then they deal with it that way. I remember one of these things I saw with my own two eyes not too long ago. Friend of mine has a pot shop. Friend of mine's pot shop got broken into. In fact, we covered it here on the show. I drove by to go see it. And they hit the building so hard with the car they used to break into it, the building was compromised. And they had to have the city inspectors come out to say whether or not the building was condemned so they could steal a few $100 worth of weed. Or the other time, this was one. You remember in that terrible, terrible remake of The Dukes of Hazzard, starring Johnny Knoxville and Sean William Scott and what's-her-face, Jessica
Simpson. I never saw it.
Okay. If you go into it with really low expectations, it will meet them. That's my room. The car scenes are cool and, well, Jessica Simpson, whatever. But, all right, there's a scene where they're trying to crack open a safe. So they wrap a chain around it and drive through Hazard County with a safe tied to a chain. And somebody literally did that to the Starbucks I used to go to in Leshai. They broke into the Starbucks, wrapped a chain around the safe, and then peeled out of there with whatever they were driving. And the safe took out the Starbucks. Took out the counter, took out the windows, took out everything when they ripped it out. In fact, I'm not even sure if they got the safe or that was the chain that just did everything, if it broke from the safe. But I remember I went to get a coffee one day, and the whole Starbucks is under construction. And I said to the guys, I go, what happened? You guys upgrading? Is it, pumpkin spice? It's a little early for pumpkin spice. I think this was during the summer. And they said, no, we got broken into. This is us repairing everything. Starbucks. As Mike would say, with the quickness. Starbucks, it wasn't boarded up for that day. No. They were already have a team ready to go in the Seattle area to repair your busted Starbucks.
I go to a couple of places on the north end that are known for social, the social scene, spirits, and every now and then singing a karaoke tune or two.
Yes.
2 separate places broken into 3 times between the 2 of them, and it looks like from the cameras that it's the same 2 guys breaking into these places.
Yeah.
And the second time in one place, the only thing they got were cartons of cigarettes.
That's funny. I took my daughter to Baskin-Robbins in Renton. By the way, that's the closest Baskin-Robbins to my house because all the others have shut down because of things like this. So I got to haul at least 15, 20 minutes out to Renton to go get ice cream. That's how far away I got to go.
There's one at Northgate here by my house, too. I think it's still there.
That's farther
I don't know which is, I don't know which would be closer to you, but that's the closest one I have. Yeah.
There is one. I'm with you.
Speaking of, Baskin-Robbins is one thing, but Dairy Queens are nowhere within the city limits of Seattle, which is hurtful.
And all the 7-Elevens are gone from my neighborhood, too. All of them, gone.
I got one a block away.
You got one. So you're okay there. Yeah, no, they're all gone from South Seattle. The Baskin-Robbins we go to, every time I've been there, without fail, a different window is broken. So these guys get targeted all the time. I'm wondering how much longer that Baskin-Robbins is going to be around for.
That's the Subway by my house.
Every
time I go, there's a different window broken.
A different window broken in. Okay, so I can see Sydney Sweeney up on the screen, and I can see the broken windows over at the Baskin-Robbins. When we come back, my friends, something coming out of Olympia I actually agree with that has bipartisan support. We'll tell you exactly what it is when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, you know what that music means. It is time to give away two tickets to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire at Climate Pledge Arena on August 3rd. Now, for your chance to win these tickets, all you have to do is enter the word I give you and text it to the number I give you. All you have to do, enter the word, text it to the number. Do not call us. Do not email us. Also, do not write your address. Do not write your phone number. Do not enter multiple times. Just once. Just once. And then you will be entered to win those tickets. So today's word is September. That's right, September, like the month. No funky spelling whatsoever. So you enter the word September. I'm sounding it out for you. September. Text that to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And you will be entered for your chance to win tickets to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire at Climate Pledge Arena on August 3rd. And you get those tickets before they go on sale at the end of the week. When I was out at the Washington State Capitol in Olympia, I noticed all these memorials all over the campus. The truth is, though, I've been down to Olympia a bunch of times. I never really had a chance to take the tour or enjoy the campus. I'm going back there on Thursday to spend the entire day there, so hopefully I'll get some more time and actually learn more about the history of the place because I'm a huge dork, and this stuff fascinates me, especially why is this bench named after somebody? Why is this memorial here? Well, now, one legislature has an idea for a new memorial on the Capitol campus. Joining us now on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line is Representative Hunter Abel. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
Such a pleasure. So why don't you tell me about this memorial that you want to put on the Capitol campus?
Yeah, so I've offered a bill that would provide for the establishment of a global war on terrorism memorial here on the Capitol campus to honor the men and women from Washington who went out and laid down their lives for our country in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. It would be the latest of a series of war memorials that exist here on the Capitol campus. Like you said, we've got a beautiful, war memorial in honor of our service members who died in World Wars I and II. We've got memorials from Korea and Vietnam. But here's an opportunity for us to recognize those who lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I think it's high time we do so.
Now, this is a beautiful idea, but I hate to be so, I guess macabre is kind of the not the greatest way to put it, but is this something where you'd be able to add names to it? Because the war on terror, though we may be out of Iraq and Afghanistan, it's not really over yet. I mean, when World War II was over, it was over. When Korea is technically still going on, even though it's not.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
So is this something where, or the design isn't even done yet, this is just the idea of having it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what this bill does is it provides for a work group to figure out things like the design, things like a sculptor or an artist to end up creating the memorial. It also establishes an aspirational 5-year timeline. By way of background, the legislature a few years ago authorized the construction of a global war on terrorism memorial as a permissive matter, but didn't provide any plan or a timeline, basically no way to make it happen. This bill is designed to make it happen. It says we're going to build this memorial. We're going to honor these men and women from our state who lost their lives in these wars. That's
really beautiful. Why don't you tell us about your military experience and why you're so passionate about this project?
Yeah, this is a bit of a passion project for me. So I've served in the U.S. Navy Reserve. I'm a commander in the Navy Reserve. I came in as an enlisted member of the Navy back in 2003, and all this goes back to 9/11 for me. I'm part of the generation that saw the planes hit the Twin Towers, saw the planes hit the Pentagon, and said, this is my fight. I want to be in it. So I enlisted. I got commissioned a couple of years later. I served in Iraq in 2007, 2008. And then I served in Guantanamo Bay in 2014, 2015, and now, 20 plus years later, I'm still serving. I still have the honor of putting on our country's uniform. And so this is a way, I think, to make sure that we can honor those men and women from our state who've lost their lives. And I think folks who have either experience in uniform or family members in uniform or family history of military service are going to recognize, this bill for what it is a bipartisan way for us to say we honor the sons and daughters of our state who went out and served nobly for our country.
That's really beautiful. Now, do you expect any opposition on something like this, or this early, somebody would be a fool to actually oppose something of this nature?
Well, It's a good question. So I'll tell you, I'm really pleased. We've got 16 co-sponsors on the bill with a lot of cross-party support. I'm very pleased with that. We've got almost every darn veteran in the state house has signed on board with this. So I'm really happy about that. That it's proof that there are some things that can be bipartisan down here in Olympia. If there is opposition, I think it will primarily be a matter of dollars and cents. But I've drafted the bill very carefully to provide that the bill is intended, or rather the monument is intended to be built primarily with private donations. And so really the only expense for the state is expected to be really the kind of the cost of the coffee and the donuts necessary to convene the work group and have them do the necessary work to figure out the plan and ultimately figure out the budget will be raised with the private financing.
I hate to correct you here, but I think there's one other expense for the Capitol. It's the little section of land it goes on. Who has to approve that?
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah. So there's the land itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. So there is a committee. It's that deals with the placement of monuments here on the Capitol. They would be represented on this work group, and part of the group that figures out really where is the most appropriate location for this memorial.
Well, I'll tell you something, sir, is that my grandfather was Navy, my family's Navy, and if we can help you in this effort by reaching out to people in Washington when you guys get going on this and do on-air fundraisers or ask for donors for something like this when you're ready for it, please reach out to me, and it would be an absolute honor to promote something like that here on the show.
I will. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And like I said, just even the sheer amount of bipartisan support we've got on this shows that there's a lot of passion behind this. I'm cautiously optimistic we're going to be able to get it pretty far in this legislative process and maybe even get it to the governor's desk.
That's really, really wonderful. Some good news out of Olympia when so many other things are going on. Representative Hunter A. Bell.
Yeah, a rare bit of good news.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Do appreciate your efforts, and thank you so much for your service.
Thanks a lot, Ari. Appreciate it.
We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, another chance to win Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire tickets, but you got to be listening for that key word for your chance to do so. But before we get to any of that, as you heard from KVI News at the top of the hour, today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. What does that actually mean? It's commemorating the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Now, this is something that the UN established. This is not actually when the Jewish community commemorates this holiday, but something that is interesting to reflect on. We got back the last hostage, his body, just a couple days ago. And when this happened, something I thought to myself was, as evil as the Nazis were, as terrible, as horrible, as they should be wiped from everything, from the earth, condemned to the dustbin of history, the ashes to the dustbin of history, there were still Germans who were not Nazis who saved Jews. There were Germans who were members of the Nazi Party, like Oskar Schindler, who did save Jews. So far, we have not seen any evidence of any Palestinian offering to help any of the Jewish hostages that were in Gaza for over 2 years. Not one documented case, not one even alleged case, nothing. We have seen no evidence of this whatsoever because you're dealing with a different type of society. You're dealing with a death cult. Now, we saw evidence of this here in Seattle, Washington. There seems to be some confusion if this was this past weekend or the weekend before. I'll yield to my friend, Bennett, the protester, who said this was 2 weeks ago, not this weekend, but this is what you heard chanting in the streets of Seattle.
Please support Hamas here! Please support Hamas here! From the river to the sea!
Yeah, we're back at it again. What are they protesting exactly? There is a ceasefire. It's in place in the Middle East. It's in place in Gaza. What are they mad about? Oh, they just want Hamas to win. All the masks are off. They claim this was about being pro-Palestinian. It isn't. It never was. That's not what it's about. What is it about? It's about killing Jews. It's about Hamas being in charge. And what's crazy to me is that this is something you would think would have gotten more media attention because this video went viral. I didn't see a single media outlet mention this at all because what is the terminology they've been using the whole time? Pro-Palestinian, pro-Palestinian. It's not pro-Palestinian, it's pro-Hamas. Now, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was talking about how the last hostage came home and how this was directly as a result of President Trump's efforts. And she is exactly right. If it hadn't been for President Trump, let's say Kamala Harris was still in office, you probably still have all the hostages there and the war would still be going on.
On one more foreign policy point, I will point out, as you all saw, the last remaining body of the hostages, Israeli hostages in Gaza, has been returned. This is a huge foreign policy feat for the President of the United States, for the State of Israel, and frankly, for the whole world. The President made the impossible possible, and so it's great news for the President, for the United States, for our allies, and also for peace in the Middle East.
She's 100% right. She's 100% right. Here's what the president had to say about it today.
Well, we have good news. You know, we got the last, as you know, the hostages back, and we got the last of the dead back. Sad. And those parents they wanted the body of their son back more, just like almost more than anything I've ever seen before. It's amazing. You know, we got we got the 20 back. We got many before that. Hundreds before that, but that last 20 we said are going to be rough, and we got them back, and now we got all of the dead back. Remember, everyone said that would be impossible. We just got the last one back today.
That was President Donald Trump on Sid Rosenberg's show out in New York, and he's 100% right. We got him back, and God knows where we would be if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were in charge. Tim Walz would probably be funneling money to the Palestinians, funneling money to Hamas if he was in charge. Think about what ifs for a second here. Think about what ifs. And yet, it seems like the left is on the wrong side of history again. What are they mad about? They are mad that Mahmoud Khalil is going to be deported because a federal court has ruled that he's out of here. He's got to get out of here. They got to kick him out. You are talking about a guy who lied on his visa application to the United States. You're talking about a guy who distributed propaganda for a terrorist group, a U.S.-designated terrorist group on American university campuses. You are talking about a guy who led the riots on that campus to attack Jewish students and anybody who supported Israel. You are talking about a guy who took over a building so much so that the janitors, who were black and Hispanic, could not get out of the building, had to fight their way out of the building. I don't know if that's called holding against your will, kidnapping, or hostage taking, but it seems like he was really chasing after the ideals he was espousing from Hamas. And yet the left is celebrating this guy. This guy is a hero to the left, like Zoran Mamdani. A few months ago, when Kamala Harris came to town, and I went to her book tour, I went undercover. If you haven't seen the pictures of me undercover, they were pretty entertaining because I knew I'd get recognized by somebody because I knew the pro-Hamas Looney Tunes were planning on showing up and I wanted to cover their protest. So what did I do? I took out my contact lenses and I put on really thick glasses that I have at home. And then I put on a newsboy hat looking thing, a scarf, this sweater I'm wearing right now. And it doesn't look like me at all. This is going to be my alter ego we call Ira. It's going to be Ira. And I pulled it off. Why? I walked right past the stranger reporters, and they know me. Oh, yeah, they know me. I walked right past them, and they kind of did a double take and weren't sure if I was who I was and kind of left me alone. It was kind of nice. So I'm inside Kamala Harris's speech. Now, Kamala Harris is a Democrat. Kamala Harris is not a socialist. Now, there were a few things that were fascinating while she was talking. Number one, every 10 seconds, another group of pro-Hamas activists jumped up to yell at Kamala Harris, who's on their side. On their side. She was making deals left, right, because wasn't she in the room when Joe Biden were making all these deals? And then, after they kept popping up and disrupting her speech, the room booed. The room booed them and booed them and booed them. But then Kamala Harris got up and said all their talking points. And the room cheered, which shows nobody in that room actually knows what they're talking about. But while I was at this event, it was election night. It was election night. And they were cheering because Zoran Mamdani won. Why are you cheering for Zoran Mamdani winning? You know he's not a Democrat, or do you not actually know that? I think we have a real problem now where a lot of people go, well, he's a Democrat. I'm going to vote for him because he's on my team. I was explaining this to somebody the other day. Kevin, I don't know if you're like a diehard Seahawks fan. I don't think you really. You love the Seahawks. You're from Seattle. You like the Seahawks, right? Right?
Yeah, and I watch every game every season, and it's not like I'm some expert on football or anything like that, but I am definitely a Seahawks fan.
Perfect. What would it take for you to become a 49ers fan?
I wouldn't do it.
See?
Couldn't do it. There are moments when there are teams that are playing each other, and I want to see one team win over the other because it's better for us or whatever.
Sure.
But no,
exactly.
Couldn't do it.
So it's like me. What would it take for me to become a New York Yankees fan? Okay, I think I would lose my audience over that, even out here in Seattle, because nobody wants to be a Yankees fan except for the scum of the earth. The worst people ever. The most awful people ever want to be Yankees fans, right? But I would never do it. And a lot of people treat politics like competitive sports, like team sports. Democrats are their team. Republicans are their team. There are very few independents left out there. I know that all these surveys are telling us there's a whole bunch of independents. I think there's a lot of people who don't care. Between this latest Generation Z and Gen X, I think there's a lot of people who just don't care. A lot of people go, screw it. Are my taxes going to go up? My taxes going to go down? What is it? There's no difference between these guys. They all suck. But when you look, there are distinct differences. Look at the socialists versus the Democrats. I know it's getting harder and harder to see those differences. It really, really is, because so many Democrats are espousing so many socialist points. But there is a clear difference. Katie Wilson today. Katie Wilson, our very own socialist in chief here in Seattle, Washington, was talking about her brand new plan for new bike lanes and bus lanes. New bus lanes in North Seattle. New bus lanes. Let me tell you what they've done to South Seattle. Do you know what I do now? I'm the only one driving in the bus lanes. Why am I driving in the bus lanes? Because they took Rainier Avenue, which was 4 lanes, 2 going in each direction, put a bus lane on each side. There's never any buses there ever. And instead, all the traffic's gone slower and slower and slower and slower. So now I either avoid Rainier Avenue altogether or I drive in the bus lanes. That's why now they're talking about putting cameras on Rainier Avenue and other places, because there's a lot of people like me who go, screw it. Why should I run behind for the buses? You can't make the buses run on time. Katie Wilson has a new plan to make the buses run on time in North Seattle by having more bike lanes. Yeah, she's going to make Denny even worse than it already is. Make the traffic so much worse. By the way, what's with these bus lanes downtown that are in the middle of the road? I get it if you say you want them on one side or the other, but they're in the middle? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand it at all.
The worst part of that is I think there's one that going up to Cap Hill.
Yeah.
That if you want to get on the freeway, you have to get over in the left lane. It's a one-way road. But you can't go all the way left unless you're carpooling.
Yes.
And you can't be in the second to left if you're not a bus.
Yes.
But you have to be in one of those to get on the freeway. So what do? Do you go over in the other two far right lanes and wait in the last second when you're allowed to get over into the bus lane and turn on it? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Funny you should mention, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. My daughter started broadcasting her high school basketball games for the boys team. She likes broadcasting the games. Cool. So I have to go out to the games, and a lot of them are up on Capitol Hill. So I've been going that way. I never go that way. I haven't seen that disaster since they've made that. What a mess. What an absolute mess that is.
Yeah, because when the traffic is backed up, you can't get over in that lane if it's backed up 2 blocks back because it's a bus-only lane.
No, can't get where you.
If you wait and try to get over with all the, no one's going to let you over.
Right. Exactly right. So you're stuck there. Me, I have just decided to ignore the rules of the road and go wherever it's convenient, as has a lot of other people too.
That's
by
what
the way.
I do with that too. I'm like, I'm going to get in this and get my chance to get on the freeway. I'm going to get in with these 20 other people in the bus only lane right now because I need to get on the freeway. It's the only way I can get on.
See, you're as bad as me. You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to make it so you go, you know what, this sucks. I'm just taking mass transit.
Sure.
And you know how I can prove that? Forget the bus lanes for a second. Kevin, you drive from time to time from North Seattle, right? And you've seen what they've done to I-5 with all those closures. If they just opened up the HOV lane going the other direction, it might take some of the pressure off those lanes.
Do you say HOV lane as in the single lane that's in on the regular freeway? Or are you talking about the express lanes?
The express
they are doing
lanes.
that though. So
okay.
So, but it's because they've shut down the 2 lanes going north.
Yeah.
The express lanes only go north now.
Okay, I'm with you. I see the problem. Yeah.
So, but that's a problem for me coming in the morning because I used to get on because the express lanes are open in the morning going south.
They go with rush hour. They go the right way.
And then but it's only going one way now until this construction is done. So coming into work now, I'm hosed because I can't get on the express lanes. I have to find other ways around because everyone's forced to go south I-5 only.
Exactly. So now they've got this mega disaster up there. You know what they're doing? They are hoping. They are absolutely hoping that you're going to say, it's so bad, I'm just taking the light rail all the time. And there's people who will, and there's people who do it. I mean, what? They announced last week that in March, they're going to officially open the link between the east side and Seattle. I saw the train the other day. It didn't look very good. The train was coming off the bridge. They're running the test runs, and it was just kind of stuck there, but going up a hill. So the cars look kind of disjointed, and I go, okay, you guys got to make that thing work better. I mean, I know you probably just stopped it there because you're testing it, but it didn't look great, is all I'll say.
Did I hear that that's going to be the first, I could be wrong, the first train going across a floating bridge?
It is the first one.
Okay.
It is the first one. Now, here's what I'm kind of wondering about. Kevin, you know the weather out here, and you've seen when there are white caps out there on Lake Washington, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time, oh, God, I'm going to sound like such a privileged person with this one, but there was a time where our boat needed repairs, and I went to go pick it up, and I leave the marina, and all of a sudden, every alarm goes off. So I bring it right back to the marina. They do something to it. I come out. Every alarm goes off again. I come back. It's getting darker and darker. It's getting windier and windier, but I got to bring that sucker back. I could not see where I was going. I don't know how I made it back. I thought I was like saying prayers in my head that I don't die on Lake Washington. That's how bad it can get. Now, you've seen when the water splashes over the bridge.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens when that water starts splashing onto all the electrical stuff they got on those train tracks over there? They got that, right?
I'm sure they figured all that out.
I'm sure they figured out. The guys who had to rip up the tracks 3 times, I'm sure they have that figured out, right?
I mean, they do. I'm sure they'll have problems or issues that will come up that they'll deal with.
These are the guys who didn't account for the weight of people after Seahawks games, so the cars decoupled from each other electrically.
I'm just saying they usually get it figured out.
Eventually.
And here's the deal. I have a stop opening up, like, I don't know how many blocks from my house. Like,
yeah.
It's that, I don't know, man.
You're excited about it?
I am excited about it. I mean, it's a quick walk. Like, I don't know. I might be using it more often than.
Do you have a lot of homeless people in your neighborhood?
I mean, I live in North Seattle by the Jackson Golf Course, so I don't know.
But I'm saying we know who's going to be on that light rail, right? Bellevue's about to get a whole bunch of new visitors.
I've ridden it so many times because I'm at Northgate and I've used it a ton of times going to the airport. I know what I'm in for when I get on it. I check the seat.
You know why they upgraded the vinyl seats, right?
Yeah. Which is, again, they learned their lesson.
Yes, they
I'm not
do.
sticking up for them. I'm just saying.
No. I understand it. Actually, I think I found out why the escalators are always broken on Sound Transit. I have a theory why the escalators are always busted. You ever been to the QFC at U Village? The QFC at U Village out there. They have the double-story parking garage. Well, they also have a thing that is an escalator for your shopping cart. I have never seen those things last for a while. Even the Safeway here has one, and it's always broken. I've never seen that thing actually run before.
There's one, the Target at Northgate has those as well.
Okay.
You put the shopping cart in there.
Yeah. I know most stores, those things break eventually. Now imagine them outdoors. Then they're going to keep breaking and keep breaking and keep breaking. That's just a theory for me.
I just think escalators are just prone to break. I mean, I call the Las Vegas Strip the land of people getting in your way and escalators that don't work.
You know what I love? We had somebody call us who was a workman for Sound Transit. And they had a term. They had an actual term they used when the homeless caused the escalators not to work. Be it
whatever,
a bodily function or stolen parts.
Yeah.
But they had an actual term. It wasn't like unsheltered caused, but it was something close enough to that. I wish I could remember what that term was, but they called the show to tell us what it meant when the homeless made it so those things don't work anymore.
I remember that.
Oh, either way. This one here, Robin Lakewood says, floating train going to have life vests in case of a water landing? That's horrifying to think about.
That's actually a good question, yeah. Do they have, like, under the seats or whatever?
Right. Are we going to have an issue? I mean, the floating bridge did sink one time. I mean, I know it was under construction, so it's not really like the whole thing collapsed and sank, but it did sink one time. This one here, Ari, the wind-driven water doesn't splash onto the central lanes. Okay, that's what they're hoping for. That's what this text here from the 425 says.
I guess I don't realize. You're talking about, this is 90, right?
90. This is I-90.
I usually go 520 most of the time.
So you haven't seen this.
Yeah.
This what's about to be a disaster.
So it is in the middle?
It's right in the middle.
Okay.
It's in those center lanes. The ones that used to be the express lanes.
Yeah, HOV.
So now the HOV lanes. Now those are gone because there's going to be the light rail there. I think the most frustrating thing to me, why I am why I am engineered to hating this train is when they locked us all down for COVID and said you couldn't run your business, they were still working on the light rail. So you can get COVID at your business, but you can't get COVID while you're working on the light rail. Just making sure I got that correctly. That's what was going on there. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including President Trump is fixing one of Gavin Newsom's mistakes regarding the results of the fire in California. We'll tell you what he did when we come back, but first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, keep listening throughout the show for your chance to enter that keyword that I give you so that you can take home a pair of tickets to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire at Climate Pledge Arena on August 3rd, and you get those tickets before they go on sale to the general public. That's why you keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI left on your dial, always right on the issues. Stream us at KVI.com and download the KVI app. Now, we've been talking about the Palisades fire for a really, really long time, the one in California. And you know that almost no houses got the permits they need to rebuild. There's been almost no rebuilding whatsoever. Well, now, according to the New York Post, a new presidential executive order is taking over the permitting in the Palisades and Eden fire zones. The issue of rebuilding permits is not about politics, left or right. According to this op-ed, we must set party politics aside to rebuild the burned area. There are no votes for the president to win in California. He is in his second and last term. Democrats represent the affected areas. This is about competence, accountability, and commitment. All three have been lacking from our state and local governments from the onset of this natural disaster. Now, the person who wrote this said they live in the Palisades, and they said it is ridiculous how incompetent Gavin Newsom is. Quote, I too lost my home. It is outrageous that only one home in my town has been rebuilt in the year after the fire, after state and local officials promised a fast track. There are a few wooden frames going up here and in the Palisades, but most of the land remains empty, a wasteland. Is this what we want the world to see in the 2028 Olympics? Last year, when the president came to a local fire station just 4 days after he was sworn into office, local residents, mostly Democrats, told him, we can't wait. Here we are 2 years later. Federal government did help. The administration waived Environmental Protection Agency permitting rules. The EPA cleared out the hazardous waste. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers removed the debris. The Small Business Administration offered loans on generous terms to homeowners and to renters. But little has been rebuilt, thanks to the slow insurance payouts, high construction costs, and broken promises from Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom. Mayor Bass says that permits are moving faster than they did before the fire. That's a very slow baseline and still not fast enough. Also, that's only thanks to the government's help, the federal government. The LA City Council has taken months to vote on whether or not to waive permitting fees for residents. These fees can range from $25,000 to upwards of $100,000 per home, depending on the build. They slow build the rebuilding, but they allow the city from profit to the homes that already pay their permitting fees when first built. Disaster profiteering is wrong. Government failure contributed greatly to the loss with inadequate brush clearance, the lack of water in the fire hydrants, no pre-positioning of fire engines in the area, delayed police evacuation, and a bad mop-up policies that allowed an earlier, smaller fire on January 1st, 2025, to smolder and reignite on January 7th. When government failure is part of a casual chain, it's ethically indefensible for the government to profit from the rebuilding effort. The delays are so bad that many residents are worried they are deliberate. They worry that the city not only seeks to profit from their misery, but to purposely replace residents with dense, low-income housing, which is exactly what they've said they want to do. Los Angeles needs additional housing, but not at the expense of fire victims. On top of that, Measure ULA, a so-called mansion tax, is slowing down building not just in burn zones, but in all of LA. The transfer tax doesn't just apply to wealthy homes. It applies to any real estate over $5 million, including apartments, clinics, and offices. It impacts burned-out lots, with owners taking lower payments from speculators that in turn pay the ULA tax. What that means is developers can't build apartment buildings. Ironically, that means even less affordable housing in LA, though the tax revenue was supposed to be spent on promoting it. That's good news. It is still possible to build in LA as long as you're the government. The LA Department of Water and Power, the people who left the reservoir empty, who let the hydrants run dry, have been running around digging up streets, putting up holes, pouring dirt on empty areas, and putting up trailers. They don't need permits. They bypass the system. With this new executive order, the federal government is holding Bass and Newsom accountable for the slow pace of rebuilding. More than that, the new order gives homeowners who lost everything in the fire renewed confidence that we can rebuild soon. Before politics, before everything else, there is a real estate issue. If you don't move quickly and with determination, nothing gets done. It's time to put politics aside and rebuild our great city. And that was written by Jeremy Powder. He's an entrepreneur and Pacific Palisades resident who lost his home in the fire. And what they're asking for is this new presidential executive order to take over permitting in the fire zones. And that's what they got. Because I got to tell you something, the amount of incompetence we are seeing out of Gavin Newsom, a guy who wants to run for president, imagine the entire country being run that way. Karen Bass, wasn't she in Ghana when all those fires happened? Hey, how is California looking overall? This can't be the only problem, right? You know, in San Francisco, You know that mall we've been talking about for a while, San Francisco Center, the one that Westfield said, nope, we're out of here. We are giving it back to the bank. We don't even want to deal with it anymore. All the stores said we're out of here because of how bad things got in that area. Do you know that it is now officially closed for good? Closed for good. On Monday, it shut down. I guess it's now for urban explorers. You want to go into, hey, remember when that used to be a mall? Go check it out. You can film the next Blues Brothers or Zombieland movie in that mall. Inside the cavernous downtown mall, according to Fox 2, most shops are shuttered, escalators stand empty, and preparations are underway for its final day. Customers said, can't wait for it to open up. Let us get in there. What are they going to do, rip the fixtures off the walls? The scene is a stark contrast to 2 decades ago when Crowns lined Market Street. The shop is what was known as Westfield Center. At the time, the mall was projected to attract 25 million visitors a year. Today, foot traffic is sparse. Of the mall's roughly 1.5 million square feet of retail space, only one store, an Echo shoe shop, appears to remain open. Visitors new to San Francisco and unfamiliar with the mall's decline said they were surprised by how empty it felt. Quote, it's pretty lame going in there, I'm not going to lie. I saw all these locations on a map. I get kind of emotional thinking, wow, there's a lot of places in here, but when I go in there, it's all dead. No restaurants, no stores. It's just empty. You know what this reminds me of? Pacific Place in downtown Seattle. Every time we go there, Kevin, what's open? The movie theater up top, the Johnny Rockets next to the movie theater, the Thai place next to the Johnny Rockets.
And if you come up the escalator from all the way at the bottom, a bunch of weird stores you've never heard of in your life that are kind of open.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sort of open.
Oh, and the AT&T store at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because somehow the AT&T store is still there. And from time to time where Barnes & Noble used to be, there's a special exhibit like the Friends exhibit. From time to time. That's it. Did they even bother decorating for Christmas this year? I don't even remember seeing Christmas decorations at all.
Used to snow in there every year.
They had snow in there?
Yeah, they drop snow from the top.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, but too bad there's nobody in there to entertain it. And now it's just who's even going to clean it up. Now you just got to pay somebody to clean up the snow that's falling from the ceiling. That's how empty that place is now. We can totally understand what these people are going through, given how bad some of our malls around here are. I mean, really, it's absolutely crazy. What will replace the mid-market monument remains unclear, and they say the city is working to create conditions for the space's future redevelopment. You know what that's code for? We're clearing out the homeless drug addicts so one day we can reopen our mall. Now, before I forget, my friends, I promised you another chance to win fantabulous prizes, and that's going to happen right now. So, if you want to be entered for your chance to win tickets to see Lionel Richie with Earth, Wind, and Fire on August 3rd, all you have to do is text the word September. That's right, the word September to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757, and you'll be entered for your chance to win. Don't give us your phone number. Don't give us your email address. Don't give us your name. Just the word September, and only enter it once. And you'll be entered for your chance to win. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including a lot of money that could be available for you to get your kids out of public schools Governor Ferguson isn't accessing. We'll explain why when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, there may be a whole bunch of money that's able to help with you, your family, your kids' tuition, and you may not know that we're even eligible to accept it, to get it from the feds and to get it from other places. And unfortunately, it seems like Bob Ferguson and the Democrats hate Donald Trump so much that they won't even take this money that's available to us. Joining us now on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, Representative Michael Keaton, who's one of my favorites, not just because of his name, but because of what a great guy he is. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Ari. I appreciate being on.
So tell us about the $732 million that we could have access to, and it seems like nothing's really happening with it.
Yeah, thank you for the question. H.R. 1 last summer created this program where you could get up to a $1,700 tax credit per taxpayer that could go toward education. It is set up in a way that you can send it to private schools, public schools. You could even do it a scholarship that's set up to be able to do tutoring or special education programs and other curriculum. And based upon the tax base that we have, and based upon the who qualifies for it, we could come up with $732 million that we could apply toward education. And why that's important is because we already are hurting with the budget. We're able to actually make things happen even better by doing this, and Washington taxpayers will receive these tax credits whether Washington opts in or not.
So this is money that's literally sitting out there right now, and I don't see this making more kids go to private school. This is something that's not enough to pay tuition of private school, not even close, but it helps a little bit. And there's plenty of parents who are going to say, I'm staying in public school, use it for that, use it for the tutoring program, use it for special education, use it for any of that. So this should be something where the public schools can get money too. This shouldn't be their big complaint of, oh, everybody's going to go to private school and then we have no public schools. So what's the roadblock? What's standing in the way?
Well, we had a bill moving forward that Rep. Defoe put out there to try to make sure we get opted in. It needs to happen before January 1st of 2027 in order to start taking effect and being able to use those funds next year. Found out the bill didn't get a hearing, so I went with a House Joint Memorial 4013, and Rep. Walsh joined me on it, and it's set up to ask the governor to opt us in. If he opts us in and sets up the framework for it, we can start receiving those funds next year. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do with my money if we don't have a place to send it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm looking at this and going, this is just insane that there's money available, and they're claiming that we have budget crisis and we have all these other problems, and they're not even taking it. That's just nuts. I mean, we can make sure it doesn't go to Somali daycares that have no kids in them, right?
That's not where I'm sending it, because you can send it to any scholarship program that's available anywhere. Yeah. And frankly, I'll send it to Mississippi. Mississippi is the one state that's actually made a big change in structural literacy and changed the direction in their scores. That state, have you heard of the Mississippi Miracle?
Yep, absolutely. How now they're higher ranked than us by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, they were always 48 or 49, and they did the Base Promotion Act in 2013. 6 years later, they were the only state in the union that showed, a 10-point gain. Nobody got any gain in reading, and they got a 10-point gain, which is like the equivalency of an entire grade level. And they were always 48 or 49. They're like number 16, and unfortunately, we're sliding the wrong direction. We were also down to like 27, and frankly, I don't like to lose.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So in the last few minutes we have on this topic, so I'm looking at the public school system, I'm looking at the private school system, I'm looking at all this money coming in, all this money that's available, and I think to myself, the only way he's going to do it, the only way he would actually do this, I mean, Bob Ferguson, is if the Muslim school said, hey, we want it, and then maybe he might do it to satisfy them. Has anybody done any outreach in the Muslim community to say, hey, if you guys pressure the governor, this could be available for Muslim private schools?
That's a good question. I have not personally, but I'd be more than willing to handle any calls.
Yeah, because I think that's actually the only people he's going to listen to. I mean, he did the holidays for the Muslim community last year, not the Jewish holidays, not the Christian holidays, anything else. And I know some people are yelling at the phone right now going, are you insane? They're yelling at the radio going, Ari, are you nuts? You know what you're suggesting right now. But if the rest of us want this money, I think you might need that group to step up and say something to him.
No, I copy what you're saying.
Yeah.
If I get a phone call, I'll answer.
Might be an interesting idea, interesting approach. Just before we let you go, I understand you had some fun last night. How was the stadium? How was the game last night watching the Seahawks clinch a spot in the Super Bowl?
Oh, it was beautiful. The fans were back to where they used to be, trying to make sure that we don't let a bunch of other teams into the stadium. And obviously, you can hear it in my voice. I couldn't speak at all last night, so I think I've done pretty good recovering this far. But on every single down, everybody, when defense was on the field, everybody was screaming the whole time.
Amazing.
We raised the roof.
Amazing. My niece got to go with her husband, and I was very, very jealous because that looked like a lot of fun. Representative Michael Keaton, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Ari.
We got a whole lot more to discuss, including your good news, talk about the Seahawks' amazing victory, plus so much more when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news, got some entertaining texts here. Rick was talking about what to do with the mall now that they're empty. He says you should turn it into a giant pickleball court. You know what? It would be better instead of a pickleball court, a giant laser tag arena. Or maybe paintball arena. Or you know what? Dodgeball with zombies. I mean, I can think of a lot of things to do with that mall. It'd be a lot of fun. Would be a lot of fun. And
Which
it
one
seems
are you talking about? Are you talking about the one in San Francisco or the
either
one here?
one. They're both, they're the same kind of deal. The one here, I can see people going over ledges.
That's
though.
what I was going to say.
That's the problem. Yeah, with all those escalators and stuff, that's bad news.
You want a lights out zombie tag or something?
Yeah, let's go.
People are falling.
Let's go. The best laser tag place in town, there were two. The best one in town, in our area. There was one in Tequila, which was laser sports something sports. It closed because of COVID. And what their thing was the guns felt like real guns. And they had mini buildings built inside a warehouse. And the laser tag was very intense. And they gave you different scenarios like save the hostage, capture the flag. That was great. The other one was Laser Quest. That was out in Federal Way. That one was pretty good. It had multi-level laser tag. That one was always fun.
Were you able to see the lasers? Or was it just one of those?
Laser Quest, you could, depending on if there was smoke or something else, you could see them. Those were pretty good. I would
Yeah.
just snipe down on people from up top. That's what I would do. And then at the one at the other place, I don't remember if you could see them or not. I just remember that place felt a little bit more authentic.
I remember early on when laser tag in the late 80s, early 90s was,
Yes.
when you could actually buy the toys.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah,
thing that
yeah.
was disappointing to me was like, I mean, I guess I'm getting hit, because it just would like make a sound, but it's like, there's kind of like, you don't feel anything.
No.
So there's no, and it's like, I don't know. And so you'd go to these places that had those kind of laser tag setups. And you're just kind of running around, just pointing and shooting everywhere, and you
don't know if you hit
got
anything.
them. Yeah.
Do you remember that little toy that would like a little droid thing that would go around the floor with those sets where you didn't have a friend to play with? You shoot your droid, and you're
had
like,
it.
"Did I hit it? Did I not?"
I had it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had the same thing I did.
The
I'm like,
commercial made it seem so cool.
it really wasn't.
Really wasn't.
Really
Yeah.
wasn't at all.
And of course, the commercial. This is my problem as a kid. They always showed a laser being.
Yep, no
like,
laser.
There's no laser.
No laser.
Yeah.
It's just like that duck hunt. There's no way to win that game.
No.
That was all rigged, whatever it was. You try shooting the dog. That didn't work either. No. Okay,
Yeah.
laser tag was a scam. Anywho, yes, was a lot of fun back then. Now at least the vests vibrate, though I will say I haven't seen this put into any place. But when I used to go to the event rental type conventions, when they had the bounce houses and the roller coasters and all that stuff, they did have this arena where you wore VR goggles and you had the laser tag pack on.
Yeah.
And the thing was, the bullets, the lasers, whatever it was all in the VR goggles. But also, you didn't look like you. You looked like an alien or something else like
Oh,
that.
sure,
So you're
you're-
shooting something else or a zombie. That
Your
was kind of
avatar was representative of whatever.
Well,
right?
you didn't get to pick your avatar. It was aliens versus zombies
Sure.
or whatever it was. That was pretty awesome. So we like that kind of thing. I do like that suggestion. Here's another one. Got a suggestion for all of you. So Dick's Burgers, Dick's Drive-In is celebrating their 72nd anniversary, which means 19-cent burgers at multiple locations for the rest of the week through Thursday. According to My Northwest, the tradition stems all the way back to Dick's roots, where the company first offered cheeseburgers for only 19 cents at its grand opening when 35-cent burgers were the norm. Quote, many show up with the same goal they've had for decades, getting a hamburger or a cheeseburger, fries, and a shake. It tastes the way they have since 1954. What makes it special isn't just the price. It's what the price represents, a connection to the earliest days of Dick's drive-through, and through it, the memories made here in more than 7 decades. You know what I like is actually, I know I can't eat these places, but when I drive by on Sundays, people treat it like they should bring out the classic cars a lot of the time. I know that during the summer,
Yeah.
you see the classic cars,
Yeah,
especially at some of the north places. Dick's Drive-In will provide 19-cent burgers throughout the week, with the event kicking off in Everett and Wallingford. That's Monday. So today, Dick's is offering a special deal only at its Broadway, Holman Road, and Kent locations. Tomorrow, it's going to have the deal at Queen Anne, Crossroads, and Lake City. And then finally, it's going to end on Thursday with Dick's Edmonds and Federal Way locations. Each 19-cent burger is only one per customer who is present. Now, I've seen when you bring those burgers around, it reminds me of a place I used to eat at in New York called Burger Nosh, where these little tiny hockey pucks. When I was a teenager or when I was in college, I needed 3 of those suckers to make a meal. How many do you take for your meal? Is it just one and done now that we're older?
I don't want to admit this on. No, I usually eat 2 cheeseburgers.
2 cheeseburgers.
I'm not big on a Dick's special or a double. I don't like the crazy sauces that are on there.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Kind of more of a plain kind of guy. But yeah, like their cheeseburgers about the size of a regular cheeseburger from McDonald's, basically.
Okay.
It's not a slider. It's a little bigger than a slider.
I don't think I told you this, by the way. I had ultimate disappointment. So I eat myself stupid when I go to Israel. That's what I do. And there's this amazing food and whatever. But my custom is always get the McDonald's on the airport on the way out, post a picture. Hey, I'm heading back to America. Here's my McDonald's. I go to McDonald's. It was one of the most disappointing hamburgers I've ever had in my life. After eating myself with these amazing giant hamburgers with the bacon on them and everything else, it was great.
Yeah.
And then you get a McRoyal or whatever it was, and I'm like, this is really disappointing. The fries didn't even taste that good. I was kind of disappointed overall.
I don't eat McDonald's a lot.
Yeah.
But I swear every time I check in and have something, it gets worse every time.
Now, that's the thing. I don't remember it being this bad before because I've been doing this for years. And I don't know, something about this time I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, every so often they do a little thing. Like there was a press release. You know, we get all this nonsense
Yeah.
here. And it was the new juicier formula for our burgers. This was like 2 years ago. And I said to Zach, I said, I should go try this stuff. And I go, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But juicier means like spongier, I guess. It's weird now. Every time there's an update, it never gets better.
That's disappointing. Very disappointing.
There's chicken McNuggets. They look like there's just like a I don't know, a little sheet of whatever smeat they have in there.
Ew.
It's just
My
sad.
son swears by the McNuggets.
Sad.
He's like, Dad, when you go to the airport, stop getting the burger, start getting the McNuggets. And all right, maybe next time I'll give it a go.
They might be better there. I don't know. It's
We'll
just
give
through
it
the
a go.
years, they get worse. They get worse.
There's something funny here. So my daughter didn't want a hamburger. She wanted a milkshake. But they're two separate McDonald's because you can't have the meat and the dairy food together. But they're right next to each other. And the other one just does like the milkshakes because there's not really much else there. But they all go on the same ordering board. I was so confused what was what and what. When, it was a nightmare. Not good. Not great. But anywho, did make me feel good about it. Getting back to this story here, founded by Dick Spady. And they opened the Dick's Drive-In on January 28th, 1954. In those days, the restaurant invited customers to exit their cars and order food at the window through a quick service model that Dick's claimed many people doubted would work in a rainy city. They started by offering the 19-cent burgers, and you can get them this week too. So just remember, through the end of the week, through Thursday. Here's something else, local sports news, by the way. Broadcaster Rick Riz will retire after the 2026 season, ending a vibrant career of more than 40 years as the iconic voice of the Seattle Mariners. He told Como News, calling Mariners games has been the highlight of my life. He is 72 years old, has spent 51 seasons as a baseball play-by-play announcer, spent 8 years in the minor leagues, 3 with the Detroit Tigers, 40 in Seattle. The upcoming 2026 season will be his 41st with the Mariners. So, boys, you want to get to the postseason this year? Give him a nice send-off. That's what you got to do. 25 of those seasons were alongside Ford C. Frick award-winning broadcaster Dave Niehaus, a well-known and cherished friend of Riz's who died in 2010. He says, I've been blessed to live my dream. As a baseball play-by-play announcer for the last 51 seasons, I can honestly say I've loved every minute. He was originally hired in 1983 to pair with Niehaus. Outside of a 3-year stint with the Tigers from 92 to 94, he cemented himself as the longest-tenured broadcaster in Mariners history. Having a chance to connect with the managers, coaches, players, and clubhouse personnel, my colleagues in the booth, those out in the front office, but especially the great fans here in the Pacific Northwest, has made it unbelievably special. Beyond his broadcast work, Rick also co-founded a nonprofit, Toys for Kids, in 1995. He says over the last 30 years, Toys for Kids has purchased brand new toys for over 360,000 kids in the Pacific Northwest during the holiday season. In the past 10 years, Toys for Kids has awarded 80 $5,000 college scholarships in honor of co-founder Dave Henderson. Over the last few years, TFK's Rick's Locker program made sure the kids in need have a chance to receive a brand new baseball glove and bat. The Mariners announced the team's 2026 broadcasting team on Tuesday. Rising star Aaron Goldsmith is returning to the lead television announcer in his 14th season with the Mariners. Riz will lead the radio side with his final year alongside Gary Hill Jr. And the rest of the team is going to be the names you know returning. One more good news sports news before we go. Multiple airlines have added flights from Seattle to Santa Clara, catering to Seahawks fans migrating to the Bay Area for the Super Bowl. Alaska Airlines has added 16 round-trip flights from SeaTac to San Jose and San Francisco. All Alaska Airlines flights departing Seattle en route to the Super Bowl are available at alaskaair.com. And actually, we might have some Super Bowl news for you as well coming up later this week, possibly next week. And on Thursday this week, we're going to have a big, huge, very meaty, very delicious announcement for all of you. So make sure you are listening on Thursday when we broadcast live from the Capitol in Olympia for that announcement where we raise the stakes over here at KVI. Well, my friends, that's going to do it for us today. Fear not, we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. Plus, of course, more good news. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.